Get Into Geek, this is episode 65. We are talking Stargate SG-1. We have reached the end of Season 3, boys. It's episode 22, Nemesis. Here we are.
Where's
3
your
years
bloody...
Oh, some weeks I'm allowed
Nah,
to
don't
use
worry
it,
about
some
it, you
weeks
missed
I'm
it.
not
Yeah,
allowed to
missed
use it.
opportunity, mate.
Poor timing.
Oh, I mean, luckily we're not live, so we can edit things around, but I mean...
It's bittersweet. Nailed it.
Very good. My name is Mitch. The full Get Into Geek team is here with me. Matty with the buttons.
Sup?
Brendan.
Hello.
And Rhys.
Yeah, g'day, guys.
As we do each and every week, we're going to ask Rhys, our new viewer, what he thinks of the episode. But first, let's find out what it's all about. This one's a big one. We get introduced to a certain little something. Let's see if it made the synopsis. O'Neill is kidnapped by the Asgard, or Asgard, and taken aboard a ship where he encounters a swarm of metallic, bug-like creatures on a mission to destroy Earth. O'Neill plans to blow up the ship and sacrifice himself, but can the Stargate team find another way to stop this apocalyptic scheme? Written by Robert C. Cooper, directed by Martin Wood. Rhys, over to you.
All right, hear me out, guys.
Hang on.
Bugs. Robotic bugs. They're bugs, but they're robotic.
Not flying, they don't look like sperm.
Let me,
And you can't kill them.
before we do that, I got a new segment. All right, so we know that Robert C. Cooper wrote this.
And it's a pretty good episode.
Yes.
I have
It's
to say,
not bad.
It's probably
Right.
one of
But-
the most iconic.
There's a pattern here, and we're gonna get
Is
to
it
it. But,
bugs?
but this segment is called Previously on Get Into Gate.
Ooh.
Previously on Get Into Geek.
Because Robert C. Cooper is now a head story editor, I feel like he's like, well, I wrote that, so I don't need to edit it. Ever.
Nah, in like season 1 of Atlantis, which is the equivalent of like season 8 of this show,
Yeah.
there's basically an identical story where one of the main characters gets hit by an alien bug
Yeah.
and is almost killed by it.
And he wrote it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's got a thing with bugs.
Hey, at the start, when O'Neill was about... What does he call... O'Neill calls them big, ugly bugs. When that one landed...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's an
That's some awesome
description.
writing.
right?
That's some awesome writing.
Love that music so much. Does anyone else pick up? They use the Nox music in this
Yes.
episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, this is specific to a great
They
race
just
of
wanted
people,
something
you know?
like soft with chimes or something like
Yeah.
that. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, not the Nox music. Don't ruin it.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume things, but I would assume that Robert C. Cooper was in the editing booth.
And I'm like, yeah, that'll do. That's really sweet. Robert, that's the Nox music. The fans will go apeshit. I'm Robert C. Cooper. Use it. Do what I want. The fans will do what I
good.
tell them to do. They will like what I tell them to like.
God, I wish they got to shut up.
Sorry, I just turned into Brendan for a second. Mitch, what happened?
That was just like a Freaky Friday moment right there.
I blacked out there for a second. What happened?
Or even a
So it all, you know, Robert C. Cooper's basically just ripped off each. And then I think the thing that bugged me the most about it was bugs.
Bugged you?
Yeah,
Okay.
see, that was totally unintentional.
Not to spit in the face of Robert C. Cooper by any means, because we already do that enough. But I'm just imagining, like, you know, the writers' room, they get together. It's like, okay, so Robert, you've got this week. So just thinking about last week where we had this amazing story where Daniel and Teal go to Abydos and they find that Share's there. She's pregnant with Apophysis' baby. Meanwhile, in Washington, Carter and O'Neill go to get medals from the president. Meanwhile, Carter's father comes in. He's got cancer. O'Neill gets approached by a journalist and he's about to expose everything the SG-1 are doing. What do you got a story about? Okay, so there's a giant bug. And he's going to sting someone.
boom, mic drop.
Mic drop.
And they're going to look like flying sperm.
So
Wow.
Wow.
That was a good segment.
that was just from one episode, by the way,
Was it?
from Bane.
Robert, we love you. Come on the show.
So after Mitch saying that, they've obviously come back to Robert. All right, Robert, you said that the Asgard have a stronger villain than the Goa'uld. What do you got for us? You didn't have anything last time you said it.
We've left
What
it
do you
open,
got for
we've
us?
left it open-ended so
Okay.
that we can...
You've had
Okay,
it. You've had
you ready?
about a couple of years to think about it.
Techno bugs.
Okay.
They don't
I know-
fly.
I
They're
know.
about the same size as the Bane bugs, but they're made out of metal.
I know we've had flying bugs. We've had glowing bugs, glowing aliens, giant aliens. This one is a bug, but it's a robotic techno bug.
Yep.
Can't die.
What did my son was there when I was watching this. He goes, "No, Dad, they're robot spiders." But I swear to God, Carter says bugs.
Yeah.
I want to say at least 10 times
Well,
in this
they've only
episode.
got 4 legs, so they're not spiders, technically.
Yeah, your son's an idiot.
However, However,
I'm not. He's only 5.
I did hear a bit
I
of it.
say your son. It's my nephew.
It's funny he said that though, because Michael Shanks is actually arachnophobic. And
Oh,
so
really? Wow.
It is actually good that he kind of was written out of this episode, because in future episodes, whenever they were going to have physical replicators on set, he would have to be blindfolded, because if he saw the prop replicators, he would get the shakes and get lightheaded because he's that arachnophobic.
Wow.
That's funny because because in Holiday, when he was playing Marcello, they went to that diner and he was drinking spiders. Oh, snap.
Delicious inventions to fight the world.
Now, Matt, I don't know that they would have this trivia in that book, or whether you've even still we brought the book back here again this week. But
Yeah, I've got it here.
the illustrated guide thing. Now, I'm watching the start of this episode. Daniel Jackson is in the infirmary. He's in a bed, and I'm like, oh, he must still be recovering from having like phased or whatever last week. It's something to do with that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, he's appendicitis. And then as this episode is going on, I'm like, okay, so when is he coming back into it? Like, do we know why
He had an
That's real world
appendectomy.
That was real world. Because
Yeah.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
my
written in the
first
show.
thought. It was one of those things that's like, it's a convenient way to write him out. It's like he wasn't there for filming, but by the time he come good, they shot the first scene, and it explains why. But I'm like, it's the season finale.
All his stuff.
Why are
was
you out of the first half? Why are you out of the first 2/3?
Yeah, all his stuff was shot like a week later after he'd recovered.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
It's funny because
The haircut gag. Did you notice that? He goes, "Oh, you had a haircut,"
Oh,
to
yeah,
it,
that's
yeah.
right.
and he doesn't have a haircut in the next scene.
Oh, doesn't he?
So that's why they said that, because it is shot a week after
Yeah,
this episode, and then he obviously had a haircut. So
Gotcha.
they dropped that in.
But yeah, so real world appendicitis. And it's funny, when I first started watching the show, I'd forgotten that Thor had been in the show a couple of times already, and that Michael Shanks had already voiced it. So for the longest time, I thought this was Thor's kind of first appearance being voiced by Michael Shanks. And the reason they did that is because he wasn't in the episode. It's like, okay, well, if you can't be in the episode, we'll throw you this VO gig,
Yeah.
and you can voice Thor. But he's obviously been doing it for like a season and a half.
And this is probably the most work, well, not even probably. This is the most work he's ever had to do as Thor.
Yeah,
like even
definitely.
halfway through the
Yeah.
episode, you're like, this is the most voice work he's had to do in the show so far. And I started thinking, I'm like, has he sort of read the script? He's like, I'm not working twice. I'm not working twice as hard. I'll be Jackson or Thor. I think Thor's more integral to this story than what Jackson is. Put me in a bed. I'm not showing up. I'll do voice work.
It was funny. I was watching this episode with my missus, and she sort of watches every now and again when she's not working. So she was watching this with me, and then when Jack got beamed up, I'm like, oh! And she's like, got so excited. She goes, what? What is it? And I'm like, Thor! She's like, oh, how do you know? And I'm like, just watch. This is sick. This is
I'm a
so
Stargate
awesome."
fan. I mean, I know. I know.
Actually,
You don't know the in jokes. We'll do a podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a podcast. We'll introduce you to it. Now, just on that, did what O'Neill was saying there sound familiar to you at all?
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah, it's
sure
funny
you
that
betcha.
that Brendan did a previously on Get Into Geek, because I've done a previously on Get Into Geek. So we've got O'Neill saying this.
Land of sky blue waters, loofahs, yeah sure you betcha, snookums, mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes.
Which Brendan referred to back in, I think, the end of season 2, maybe the final episode or our season recap.
Brendan Gibson.
Yeah, sure, you betcha. Snookums.
What the hell?
And Rhys, follow that up, mate.
Yeah, g'day, guys.
You could have given us a morning
Hey,
campus.
Stargate fans are going to dig that, Rhys. Shut the fuck up.
Have you had a lot of sugar today, Brendan?
So yeah, now you're in on the joke. This is finally a joke that we've made that we can pay off on, that you've finally been able to catch up.
Brendan's been saying that for years. I was like, that's literally the only
Yeah.
reference.
There's no
Yeah.
reason behind it, from what I can tell.
No. It's just him
Right.
putting on that
Sounds like Jim Carrey.
Pennsylvania accent.
Yeah.
You betcha. Right, so that's like this. You've been saying that for years, and it's literally from this
That's that.
one
Oh, he
second
says
of
it a
this
couple
episode.
of times.
Does he?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
this
in
was it.
season 8.
Oh, when they have the deja vu from this episode.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Oh, wasn't that spacewalk awesome?
One small step for Jafar.
So Tuk's been doing his research on Earth.
Yeah, he's finally been doing a bit.
Yeah,
But
he's
yeah,
up to the 60s.
that's
Yeah.
that EVA was great, and I find it comes down to the great writing that it is. That he was given something to do. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
so he and Carter, volunteered to come up to help Jack out. And it's like, really, like, Carter was obviously all over the Asgard tech, and Teal'c almost would have been reduced to his normal role of just
Muscle.
being the background guy, just shooting behind O'Neill. But it's like, well, he was the only one. He was the one that made sense to go EVA because of the radiation
Yeah.
issue. And that's just that one little line that Clever that just sells it and go, okay, well, it makes sense that he's the one going in there to do it, and does give him a really, really good place to go. Much in the same way with Thor, I thought it was done really well that he has that line about, if I knew an easy way to get rid of the replicators, I would have done it myself. So that way we didn't have to rely too much on Thor either.
Yeah.
I just find those are really nice ways to wrap up those things so that it's not just a glaring omission that we're going to go, oh, why didn't Thor just do it himself? It's like, I really like that.
It's funny because at one point, Thor sort of passed out, and I'm like, holy shit, Thor's dead. And it reminded me of that Tok'ra in the finale of season 2, how he or she died.
Oh yeah, in the Hathor one.
Yeah.
Oh, and then
she comes back. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, Ellen from Supernatural. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to rewind that too, actually. I'm like, hang on, did O'Neill just like, oh, he's dead, okay, I better go to the computer. Like, he just passed it up. I'm like, I feel like you should have emotionally reacted to that a little bit more. But then when they, like Carter goes over and goes, now, Thor, how are you feeling? And I'm like, oh, hang on, what?
Yeah.
I got the feeling that guy who was hardly breathing, when he stopped breathing, that was him actually dying. Yeah.
It's like the puppet doesn't have a pass out and a dead setting. It's just got the one setting.
I'm
and it's like,
literally
we don't
on
know
or
which
off.
one's
Yeah, but it's
which.
got the chest movement going still.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's a bit of a chest stomach movement.
So what was he laying? What was he laying in?
It's like a stasis pod.
Yeah, like their version of like a hospital bed, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Automated.
Automated medical treatment or something. So it's like a sarcophagus, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. Much
Just
more
doesn't-
compact.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't make you go dark side either.
And it floats.
Convenient, right at the end when Carter could just like push it through the gate.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. Just be like,
Totally.
And they're like, well, the Asgard don't use wheels, obviously, so it's going to hover.
I did notice that when she pushed it through, it obviously went all the way in. But I'm going, don't you have to have your hand stuck in, or doesn't matter have to be travelling through for the wormhole to stay open?
Well, no, it stays
Yeah.
open for 38 minutes, doesn't it?
No, that's how long you can keep it open for. But it'll shut down if nothing's happening. Usually.
Yeah, that's one of those grey areas where
Yeah,
it's
because-
like, if the plot serves, you can just have the gate on in the background when we're having a conversation before we're about to go through.
Yeah.
But if it's in another situation, then it'll shut itself off after 30 seconds of nothing
Yeah.
going through
Or
it.
someone
What
will
about
come
matter of
through
time?
like last week. They came through the gate,
that
and
was-
then Daniel came through after he's in a different dimension.
Yeah, and
and it
sort of
shuts
almost
off,
cut
and he's
him
like,
off.
"Hey!"
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, then like the extenuating circumstances of like matter of time and other episodes is because there's an outside force affecting
Right,
it, and that's
yeah,
why
okay.
it's sort of open for
Prolonging
longer
it.
than it's 38 minutes and that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's one of those sort of grey areas where it all just comes
Yeah.
into play.
I was just thinking that would have been perfect to put him half in there,
Yeah.
or his head in,
Keep
so,
it open.
I'd
so
keep
his
the
head
gate
can't
open.
get shot. But then when they're ready to blow it, then they can all just jump through.
Well, this is the thing. When that gate was open, there was replicators walking on the gate.
Yeah,
So I'm like, surely some of them went through
they
the gate.
would have.
Surely.
Absolutely.
And I did love another bit of, as much as I liked like I was just saying about the Thor plot and the Teal'c plot, I thought the one little bit of convenient plot line there was when Major Davis, when they beam up the gate, and Major Davis is just like, oh yeah, there'll be enough residual charge for one dial, and I was like, oh,
course there will.
that's borderline, but
That's what I
okay, I'll take it.
I'm happy to rubber stamp that.
Yeah, like it was
Because it's already
borderline.
got they've got power going through it, so you only need enough power, like a Jeep's worth, to unlock the inner ring.
An old Jeep.
Not
Yeah.
two big trucks anymore, just a Jeep.
No, just a
one
Jeep.
little
Yeah.
Jeep. Yeah.
And so that gate was on the ship that crashed, basically. So it's
Yeah.
bottom of the ocean kind of thing.
Well, if it
Destroyed.
survived.
Well, if
So
a
now we only
gate
got
can
one gate.
survive a bloody asteroid direct hit.
Yeah.
We're just
100
trying
days.
to keep you guessing, mate. We're just trying to keep you
Yeah.
guessing. You
Yeah.
know, don't you
Oh,
figure
sure-
that too.
I
Surely.
guess with that much naquadah, it should have exploded in through the.
Oh, mate, they only had enough power for one charge. There was no charge left in the
True.
Nakoda,
Good
so
call.
So at the end, I mean, obviously it's a to be continued, so there's more to be answered. But at the end, Hammond's like, get the second gate, because obviously they need to travel back through it.
Yeah.
Would they have grabbed the DHD for that gate whilst they were grabbing the gate?
Where's the
Where is
DHD?
the DHD?
Well, remember that
Moments.
in
'Cause it was in the back
'cause-
of the truck.
Yeah, surely they would have kept them together.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You know, like how it'd be stupid to split them up.
Nah.
Well, like
We've
said,
got our own,
they've
mate.
already got the supercomputer. There's
Yeah,
no-
but they got to hook the supercomputer up to this new gate now.
Yeah, but
put an
the
iris
The
on it.
calipers are still already there.
Where are they going to put the DHD, mate? I mean,
Yeah.
there's no room for. What are they going to do?
can't,
Put
yeah.
like
That would look pretty sick though if the DHD was in that command room
Yeah.
above. Like that would just be sick. But what I think is
yeah.
that if they'd have to bring them separately, like truck them back or whatever. So you
Yeah.
get the gate in one, ship, plane, whatever, DHD in another, and like Walter just like sneaks in conveniently, makes sure that it goes missing because if that DHD comes back, he's out of the job.
There's no one yelling out.
He's still got iris control. He's still got little hands.
Well, yeah, actually, you imagine that they reduce him down to iris control, so he gets like docked 80% of his pay.
all he has is like one little child's desk in the corner with just the iris control on it,
Yeah.
and not even a swivel chair.
He
just
stands
like a
next to the door and there's just like a handprint, and he's like, yeah, okay, on, back out you go.
Because he loves that.
Yeah.
Chevron 1 encoded.
Yeah, what's it?
Yeah.
Like,
Chevron 1 press, Chevron 2 press, Chevron 3 press. It doesn't work, mate. Come
Actually,
on.
there is a good moment of that in Atlantis,
Yeah.
because they have kind of a digital dialing device, kind of like the DHD, and yeah, as the first character's about to do it, he sort of presses the first button, Chevron 1 encoded, and then just kind of waits, and then they go, come on, so then they just start going, and away they go. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was a nice little throwback to good old Walter.
yeah, it's good.
Something I did like was how they were trying to come up with a plan how to get off the ship, and they were like, maybe we could blow it up, and then Thor kept saying how advanced the ship was. Basically, you can't blow it up because we've got something to
Dampers.
combat that. Like you need to go through down to the other, set up, go to the navigation room and that sort of thing. And it's just like how advanced the technology was. You can't even grasp it. And then the engine room, how Carter was looking at it, and he was saying each engine is 1 billion kilojoules of what you
Yeah.
measure now. I'm just like, that's hectic.
Yeah.
And then
I was
when they-
thinking at that point, Carter just going, yes, I understand. And he was like, yeah, that's pretty much where I glazed over.
Yeah.
And then there's that
Me
moment
too.
when they make their way to the engine room and realize that it's like bug cent. No, they go to the bridge. Sorry, and
Yeah.
and it's bug central. And O'Neill just kind of it throws me back to Galaxy Quest, which Mitch won't get this reference because he's never seen it. Something else he's never seen. Where
Boom. But enough about me.
But enough about you.
Right,
Where Sigourney Weaver just looks at something and goes, "Well, that."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, if this was still like the first episode when they're showing Bush and swearing and stuff, I'm like, that's what O'Neill actually would have said when the
Yeah.
door was open. He would have just gone, nah, no way.
Fork.
R-rated Stargate, that's what we want.
Oh, boom. Yeah, like Game of Thrones style Stargate.
Oh,
That's
that'd
what
be
we
sick.
want.
That would be pretty awesome.
Oh, though, no, you probably would have seen like Daniel and Linnea go at it, and you would have seen Daniel and Sharay go at it, and well, that would have been okay, but
Yes, and go on.
would you want to have seen Daniel? Imagine
Tilk
if
in his pouch.
they probably would have shown you Hathor giving birth to all her shrimp. That would have been pretty graphic.
Yeah, that's
you wouldn't.
true.
You don't want to see that.
Like
So-
the giving birth to that ghost in Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't want that with shrimp.
And we never saw it again. But so black or white, Rhys, I guess, yes or no, yay or nay to the actual replicators. Like when O'Neill shows up, he goes, or whoever showed up and actually asked the question to Thor and said, so this is your Nemesis. These are the great threat of the Asgard that you've referred to why you can't help us.
Yeah.
They're worse than the Ghoul. Did you look at them and go, fucking really? Or did you go, oh, now I see what they're talking about?
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously, as soon as Jack got up there and saw him, I'm like, oh, you can just blow them up. But as soon as you realise that, hey, they don't die,
Yeah, like Zat's no good.
yeah, no
Yeah, you
good.
shoot 3 times with the Zat. Nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah, well, he only shot him twice.
No, he went bang and then bang bang.
Yeah,
right.
I think you see the shot of them like firing the Zat as the first shot, and then the shot changes, and then you see the replicator then take 2 more shots.
Yeah,
And
right.
it just sort of and then just keeps going.
So it's cool enough to know that it doesn't kill them, but it goes back to what you were saying last week when we were doing our mailbag about the 3-shot thing hasn't been used and won't again after 1969, that they do the double shot. And it's like, oh, it's not enough to kill it. It's like, they're writing it. Do we do 3 shots? We don't know whether it should disintegrate. If it disintegrates, then we haven't got a story. No, it doesn't. Let's just not have him even try, even though he had time to do it.
But yeah, they become, as soon as like they replicate, obviously, and just all them coming down the hallway, and you know that there's no escaping them. It's just so stressful.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this can
The whole
be
episode
something.
has
Yeah.
this heightened.
They're not
sort of
more
anxiety.
evil than the Goa'uld, because that's what you expect when they said they're worse than the Goa'uld.
Yeah.
You're like, man, these guys must
Yeah,
be
you think like bigger ships,
megalomaniacs.
more powerful, but it's
Yeah.
not. They're like ants. They
It's
just
just
don't
the
die.
problem. Yeah, it's like
just the sheer
termite problem.
number of them, and
They've got
Yeah.
we've just got a
Literally,
major termite problem in the
metal
Asgard fleet.
termites.
they're like a force of nature.
All right,
It's
bear
just
with
like
me,
a-
all right? They're termites, but they're metal.
So in a
look,
way, it's probably Stargate's like first horror episode in a way, like because just the way, even just the way through the hallways where they're sneaking around with their guns and they don't know, like anything could be around the corner.
Yeah.
And like they're watching them on the monitor, like through the thermal. That's great. It can pick up only humans, but like you don't know whether one's about to jump out. And the fact that we've already seen they cannot be stopped by the weapons that you have. You can slow them down, but they cannot be stopped.
Well, I don't want to pile on. I didn't intentionally mean to do this, but as someone who's never seen what I'm about to talk about, these are obviously Stargate's answer to the Borg. Give me that's one.
Okay, sure.
We'll talk
yeah.
about this.
Now, when you say the Borg, when you say you haven't seen it before?
Star
Star
Trek.
Trek.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
why haven't you
so-
seen it? Which?
No, you haven't.
Oh,
I'm
I
saying
haven't.
you
Right.
haven't.
I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you talking about?
You were talking about it as a horror point of view, whereas I'm saying the replicators are basically Stargate's answer to the Borg. The Borg are these cybernetic sort of humanoids that have a hive mind that act as a swarm. They attack as one, they think as one, but are capable of individual thought. Very much, almost line for line, what they say about what Thor says about the replicators.
Yeah.
And the Borg assimilate you. They are cybernetic vampires. They'll come along, stick tubules in your neck, and they'll turn you into one of them. The replicators, very similarly, just consume everything around you. They will take everything you've got. So this came out in 2000, which is basically, I want to say, Voyager's 6th or 7th season, which is when the Borg were really heavy. Star Trek was in one of its really sort of prime things. And I think they were just trying to compete, and read the landscape and go, okay, the Borg are really, really popular with sci-fi fans. We need our own version of that.
Yeah, the Borg are better.
They've introduced the replicators, and then continuing on, we'll talk about it in season 4. But they introduce a Tok'ra character named Anish, who comes in for 4 or 5 episodes, something like that. And in the commentaries, Peter DeLuise and Martin Wood says she's a direct comparison to Seven of Nine. Seven of Nine being a character in Voyager who basically was this hot, big-titted blonde chick in a catsuit with heels built into it, walking around the ship.
Catwoman.
Who was, a phenomenal actress, but she was the sex appeal. So that's what they tried to do with Stargate. They realised, well, Carter's wearing the same outfits as all the boys. We need a bit of sex appeal. So that's why they introduced this Anise chick who's coming in these little leather miniskirts and stuff like that. But realised after 4 or 5 episodes she just wasn't clicking and wasn't doing what they need to do. So they bumped her.
But also, Replicators, the name, is also from Star Trek. I thought you were going to bring that up. Well, the Replicators is what they get their food source from, right?
Oh, yeah. I didn't think of that. Just because replicators are kind of a benign tech in Star Trek, so I didn't...
I just feel like they got the Borg and the Replicators, 2 Star Trek things, and just mashed them together.
Cooper's
just strapped off Star Trek.
Need an idea. He's got it on the background. Oh, already?
Yeah.
What do we get here?
Right. Let's see what
E.T. just finished. Oh, Star Trek's on.
Yeah. But I have
Hang on
to
a
say,
second.
I do, at this stage, I do love the replicators. I think they're a great enemy.
Yeah, they're good here.
Really, really good. And that obviously it's something, it's that great sort of, what do they call it when the snake eating its own tail or whatever. It's like, well, the Asgard are so much more technically advanced than us, but they're getting their asses kicked by the replicators, but then we can shoot them with just our gun. We can take out the replicators easier than the Asgard can. So I kind of like that sort of circular. It's like your 3 starter Pokemon. It's like each one is good against the other one.
Scissor, paper, rock.
Yeah.
I like that in modern day sci-fi where there'd be movies
Good
and
old
TV
rock.
shows where
Means rock.
where soldiers in it, whatever modern day, whenever it was made, meet aliens with advanced tech, and we have projectile weapons, and they just can't wrap their head around the fact that these work.
Yeah.
It's almost like they've went from like swords and shields and spears straight to laser weapons. It's like, what, projectile? Like this is better than our
and
energy
they,
weapons.
They
How?
kind of, not to really Rhys, they kind of actually comment on that in the first episode of next season, where they're saying, okay, we need your help to do something or that, and they're like, oh, so you need someone dumber than you? And then Thor or Freya, whoever it is, actually says, oh, we never would have conceived a a lead propelled projectile, projected by what is it, Brendan? Can you remember the phrase? About and
Yeah,
they basically they break down what a gun is.
Combustible.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll get to it in.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Actually, maybe
I've
that
murdered it.
phrase
I've
has
murdered
been
the phrase,
in
but-
but I reckon the general consensus of what you're saying has probably been stuck in my head since I saw it. Yeah,
it
yeah,
would've been.
yeah.
It's a
So
cool
we'll
idea.
get to that in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I've got a lot of time for the replicators in their current iteration. But as the seasons go on, I find they do tend to rely on the replicators a bit too much. And then they do evolve the replicators at a certain point, and that's when I was like, nah, I'm out.
I liked it later.
Oh,
A bit.
really?
Yeah,
So-
more so than these.
I prefer these replicators.
The replicators, their deal at the moment, from what I can gather, and tell me if I'm wrong, but they
we
they
will.
eat metal, right?
They eat, yeah.
Yeah.
They consume technology and eat the surrounding
And evolve. So what?
and
So if,
replicate. So if
and
they
that-
eat
but they'll
something,
kill a human.
Yeah, because if you notice that when O'Neill was first beamed up to
Like the
Thor's
Borg.
ship,
they won't attack unless you attack them.
yeah, they'll only assimilate technology that's useful to them.
Yeah.
If when O'Neill was first beamed up and he saw the replicators, they ignored him because they didn't know what he was. He wasn't a threat to them because they were too busy, dismantling the ship. It was only after he starts, and the only reason they were drawn there, and Thor says that, is they were drawn there by the energy of the transport beam.
Right.
So that was the only reason they were kind of, oh, what's going on over here? And then they're like, oh, it's a meat bag. We don't care about that. It was only after he started firing on them that they're like, oh, okay, this guy's a threat. He's trying to stop us. We're going to kick his ass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when they all started. Because you remember, really, one literally crawls across O'Neill and just kind of ignores him and keeps going, like just completely disregards him.
Throws it.
So it's only we kind of instigated it by helping Thor and starting to sort of take them out. That's when like, okay, you're trying to stop what we're trying to do. We're going to stop you. So
Sort
we
it
do
out.
what we want.
Yeah.
I do find that we skipped over something relatively important here at the very start, where basically O'Neill's inviting Carter on a date, more or less.
Yeah. Can you imagine what would have happened if O'Neill hadn't been beamed up? Like,
Him and her.
Got it on.
well, she does.
She denied, eh?
She does kind of run out and go as if she wanted to, and then she's like, "Oh, have a
Second
good
thought,
time."
And he's like, "Are you sure? Because we
That's
got
when
a
he's like,
week off."
Yeah,
It
sure,
was-
you betcha.
it was
Let's
on-
have new waters.
Like seriously, it was on like Donkey Kong when they were
Yeah.
in there
Oh yeah.
talking like it with the reactor, because I was like the way she looked at it was like, oh, that's an invitation. He's like, yeah.
Like, for what the scene was, it went on a long time.
Yeah.
And just
And
their
it was-
looks and
I like that. It was a good touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then obviously that's, they go on with it for a
Thor
little
just cock blocking him.
bit. Yeah.
Just, and they were
You're supposed to love me.
they were leaving the state too. Like I actually looked it up because this is the first time you mentioned. So the cabin, which we put on our Facebook page the other week, Lincoln was lucky enough to be there. He was filming some stuff there at that cabin, the actual shooting location. So in world in Stargate, that's actually, he says it's in Minnesota, which is sort of up sort of in the top right hand corner of America, up sort of near Michigan and that sort of stuff. That's where Minnesota is, whereas the Stargate base is in Colorado, which is sort of Central America. So he was catching a flight. They were going to be states away from
Having some
the
drinks
SGC.
on the flight.
Just
you
them
know.
on their own in a little secluded cabin,
Yeah.
just out by a lake, just doing what they want.
They would have.
And
They definitely would have had sex.
They would have gone to Pound Town.
Multiple times.
Yeah, he would have opened her iris.
Yeah. Right in the core eye.
Just, hey Carter, would you like to see my brief candle?
It's not gross because we're not used.
Checking out
Do you
my
know-
cold Lazarus.
Do you know how he would have like just lulled her into false sense of security? We're like, so, tell me more about Jolinar.
Oh god, yeah.
How confused are your feelings now?
Are we technically having a threesome?
How about
tell
I
you-
implant my symbiote? in you?
So you've got
Let's play Stargate Command. I'll be a symbiote. You be a Jafar.
Colonel, that's my belly button. Shut up. Go with it.
Jafar Cree.
So here we are, like, speculating about things we may have seen, may have wanted to see between O'Neill and Carter, and like the unspoken, are they or will they or won't they type thing. The other side of the team, obviously Daniel's in bed sick. They go, oh, Tilk's off somewhere visiting his son. And I can just imagine everyone else in this room going, yeah, we don't need to see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we really are.
Happy if Tilk stays away if it means that we don't get to see Ryak.
Yeah.
Wasn't the last time we heard from them they were going to live on the land of light or something like that? Like they had to get away from Chula.
Yeah.
So they don't really mention if that's where they are. Maybe they got sick of those people.
Because they didn't actually mention where Tilk was. He just said he's off world. I gathered that he was from
Visiting
No,
his
didn't
family.
they
Brief
say
Candle.
He's with Ryak.
Straight
or
there.
No,
some
didn't they
shit.
say he was visiting his son or something?
Yeah.
No, he just says, Hammond says to, who was it, Carter? Get in touch with Tilk off world.
Yeah, but before, I'm pretty sure they said he was with Ryak.
Yeah, they said he's visiting his son
Yeah.
somewhere. I think it was Jack. He said he's off visiting his son.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
it might have been the
right.
cold open when they were setting
Yeah.
everything up, going, okay, Daniel's in hospital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tilk's off world.
It's like, I can't
visiting
take
his
my
son.
buddy.
Now,
I can
when
take you.
when Jack projects himself in the briefing room and when he's on the
That's
ship,
so good.
it's so funny. But then he's
Yeah.
he's rattling off all the equipment he needs, and I don't know what a Spaz 12 is, but shit, that sounds hectic.
That does. Actually,
That's 12.
my
You're
mate,
spazzing that shit, and
My
it's
mate-
times 12.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
that
not.
is next
it's not
level.
the Spaz 6.
we'll have to keep it in mind. My mate Craig, who gave me these Stargate illustrated companion books we've been using, he's actually in the army, and he was listening to our mailbag a few weeks ago about the guy who wrote about shaped charges. And he's like, yeah, mate, shaped charges. He texted me the other day, and he's like, yeah, mate, shaped charges are a thing. He's like, if you need like a military advisor to tell you about these things, just let me know, and I'll. So
okay,
we should have
Spaz
asked
12.
him about Spaz
Straight in.
12s. Craig, what's a Spaz 12? I'm googling it now. I mean, oh, that's like the shotgun thing that he was using.
Yeah, I assumed as much because that just sounds like it would
But it's
hurt.
like, what do we know? That could be explosives for all we know when you just hear Spaz
Yeah.
12.
Spaz 12. 12 gauge.
But
And like before, how we were referring
we
to
wouldn't know.
I'm Australian. mate.
like bugs or the official like whatever Carter was saying. I like that they probably just ran with that because that's what O'Neill said when he come through and he is facing the wrong way in the hologram. And he's like,
Yeah.
we got these. Robot bugs, techno bugs, and then if Carter did just reference them as bugs for the rest of the episode, and they're like, "Is that the real thing?" Well, O'Neill said that he's been speaking to Thor. That must be the official terminology. It's like, no, that's just the first thing that idiot said.
Yeah. So, yeah,
One of the smartest people in the world's like, let's roll with it.
sorry, I've just been
The
googling the corner
Replicators.
here. Spaz 12s are used by Jurassic Park security as well.
Hell yeah,
So Spaz 12s are in Jurassic Park.
take down a T-Rex.
Boom.
Across the
Take
universe.
that.
So Major Davis is in this one, Maddie, one of your favourites.
Boom.
And a couple of weeks ago we were talking about, what episode was it? I believe it was Maternal Instinct.
Yeah.
We're talking about one of the guys, the Jafar leader. He was actually in a sci-fi show that I've seen before. I don't know if you've seen it, Falling Skies. Have you watched that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you haven't seen Falling Skies? What's wrong with you?
Oh, I mean, it's not one of the iconic, top 10 sci-fi shows
It's pretty.
of all time.
It's
but
pretty.
that's
Actually,
okay.
it's not bad. It's not a bad show if you get into it. But Major Davis is in that. Colin Cunningham.
Colin Cunningham, yeah.
He plays this kind of like just a complete contrast to Major Davis. Long hair, beard. His name's John Pope, and he's like this badass. I'm like,
nice.
wow, this dude can act.
Yeah, he's got
Like
some
he's
good
got
chops.
some really good acting chops.
It's the first appearance, and you'll blink if you'll miss it. Blink and you'll miss it. First appearance of Major Wood as well.
Yeah, I did blink,
Um,
literally blink because O'Neill gets taken away.
Yeah,
He's
so
the guy in the background.
Martin,
Oh, really?
Martin Wood, the director, who's obviously probably the most prolific Stargate director. When O'Neill gets beamed up, he's kind of the airman in the background who kind of just stops and looks at Carter like, what just happened?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Major Wood.
So he calls himself Major. So he starts becoming sort of Sila's kind of go-to guy. So it's those two.
Right.
Those two in the spanner get up to a
the-
lot,
yeah.
and it's kind of. Just,
I'll get that
I
rendered.
think
Excellent.
I think after Peter DeLuise kind of did his own sort of cameo in sort of Demons and Ergo, I think Martin Wood was like, "All right, I'll jump in front of the
Yeah.
camera and have some fun."
Game on.
So,
That Tilk spacewalk was hectic, eh?
so good.
He's like, I actually thought he could push off a little bit harder.
Absolutely.
That was
good.
my thing.
But I don't honestly, I don't reckon Jack really relayed that information
Yeah,
very well.
push
'Cause-
off hard. Like,
Yeah,
go.
like
Yeah,
because
push
Carter's like he has to go way beyond, and Jack's like, you're gonna have to push off to, all right, like just not to touch it.
Yeah.
yeah.
He's like, how far do I have to go?
Yeah. I should-
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh, you should have pushed harder. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to take a lot longer than I thought now.
Yeah.
You better
mean-
go into a
I mean-
deep state of Kilnoreen.
You won't stop.
I was watching that part and I'm like, Brendan's definitely going to
Yeah,
tell
I
him to
thought
go
the
into a
same
deep
thing.
state of Kilnoreen here.
I was
Because
surprised
conserve
they didn't say it.
oxygen. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you want to conserve oxygen, just go to a deep state to Keldon Ring.
Yeah.
Sure.
Because
He can
You're
do
floating
it.
in space and suffocating, but meditate, man.
I'm surprised that when he did get beamed aboard, and he's like, "Wake up! That's following orders." I'm surprised Tilk didn't go. I placed myself into a deep state of Kilnoreen because I knew I would have
Mate.
no oxygen.
It's proof that this is twice in a row where you've wanted this to happen, and he can't when he doesn't have candles. He needs a candle to hit Keldon Ring.
He's got the
I
sun,
guess
mate.
we'll see. Yeah, I guess we'll see next season, won't we?
Wasn't it great when he was outside the ship and they did that whole zoom in? They had the whole
Yeah.
mothership.
Yeah.
Establishing shot.
And it's just like,
Yeah.
you don't realize how big it is until you zoom all the way and you're like, holy shit, that's Tilk.
Yeah.
And he is big.
Yeah, he's a
Great
big
way to
dude.
give perspective on the actual size of
Yeah.
that ship. I mean, they did it in Star Trek a couple of years beforehand, but that's okay.
You're asking for it.
You're really close to 3.
That's fine.
Like, two is really
Is
close to
two
3.
really close to 3.
Well,
Okay,
mate,
all right, fair enough.
You had 2 in 1 before we let it pass.
Yeah.
How did I have 2 in 1?
Borg and 7 of 9.
That was
That's
all
2.
part of one. Okay,
That's why we're saying you're close.
no.
I don't know.
We're
You,
gonna-
you had a pretty big rant on Cooper and we didn't give you that
Yeah.
one.
We should have.
It's
It's not my problem.
we're gonna.
I don't police myself. I don't hand myself in.
I've hinted at it a few weeks ago, and I think I'll bring it to you guys in our season review next week. But I've got an idea of how we're gonna change the 3 mentions rule for next season.
No, we're not.
Because look, I've had a lot of a lot
Change
of
it to 2 if you
listeners-
want.
we've
If you want to
talked about
change
this.
it.
No, trust
talked
me,
about this.
I've had a lot of and season 4 in particular. I'm going to need some leeway to talk a lot about Star Trek. So
No.
Maybe we put it to a,
Stargate podcast.
maybe
I
we
know,
put it
but
to a
there's
Twitter vote.
There's
Yeah,
a lot
good
of
call.
Oh, hang on. Results are in.
No, just wait till you hear my pitch, okay? Because what?
Is it high?
Oh god, the pitch I'm going to give you guys is
Maddie?
going to give you guys
Oh,
another
See what I
way
did
there? Yeah.
another way to pay me out and annoy me.
Cool.
So
All right, tell us now.
All right.
look,
Tell
all
us
I'm
your
gonna-
plan.
All I'm going to say, is, I'll give you. I've bought it in. That's all I'm going to tell you guys so far. Okay, I've got it here.
A black box.
A case
Yeah.
with
the Earth symbol.
point
Yes.
of origin on it.
Which is what I'm calling the box of shame. It's the box of shame.
Okay.
On the side it says
Right.
Ultra Box.
You've got an ultra box.
I've got a black extra box.
So it's the box of shame. I'll reveal everything next week. It's a way for you and the listeners to pay me out,
It's a dick in a box, isn't
but
it?
still allow me to, season 4 in particular, have the leeway that I need to talk about Star Trek.
So what's the box of shame exactly?
Tell us
We'll
now.
reveal it next week.
Yeah, but well, like, what's the rules with
Tell
it?
us off air.
I'll reveal it next week. I want to get you guys.
I want to know now.
That's next season.
Well,
Yeah.
no one's asked me about this other giant box I have here that I thought you guys would be really interested in.
Well, you didn't bring it out.
You'll probably bring it back next week.
No,
I'll bring it in next week and show you what's in there.
There's nothing in it this week.
Yeah.
Just wanted to tease you guys. So what's in the big box, Matty?
what's in your-
What's in your big box? The
All
big
right,
white
well,
box.
I thought I'd bring something in. All right, so I brought something in. Oh. If I could do a good Steve Irwin right now, I would.
Crikey.
Oh, crikey. Easy. Oh, he's
Crikey.
angry. Oh, easy. Easy, big fella.
Oh, shit.
No, you should have climbed him up.
It's okay, you can't die.
Shit. Holy shit. That is
Dang.
awesome.
Down.
Maddie's brought in a life-size replicator.
Replicator.
Replicator. Oh,
Wow.
I don't want to touch it. I'm like Michael
That's
Shanks.
very cool. That's
good,
very
isn't it?
cool.
Now that's sensational.
That's legit. I got
Here,
that.
touch Matty's replicator.
Holy shit. It's like Lego.
No, it's a 3D print.
Is it really?
It's a
say
3D
that
printer. So I actually bought it on eBay about a year ago when we started the podcast. I was like, I found it. A guy in Russia who does these amazing
wow.
3D prints.
Sweet.
Shout out to an Australian cosplayer, Cosplay Chris, who's got a great YouTube channel. He shows you how to kind of restore things and paint things up, and it gave me a lot of tips on how to get it looking
Nice
pretty
tips.
realistic.
That's sick.
So yeah, I thought we might
That with the music,
Put some photos
and when
up
you're
on
pulling that
socials and
out,
stuff.
I could, because I'm looking over a monitor here, so I can't see completely. It looked like it was crawling up. When I heard the sound effect of the replicator, it looked like its legs were moving.
Yeah, nice.
So that's
very
Should have filmed it from your angle.
yeah. That's why I said, "Do you want to do it from here?" And Maddie said, "No, you want to see it come out of the box."
I still blame you.
Well,
It's
no need.
fine.
You're
Not
wrong.
wrong. So easy,
So Jack O'Neill is the coolest dude ever in Stargate. I'm throwing that's
obviously. Yep.
obviously.
Well, it was established in the
But
first
for,
episode, wasn't
but
it?
for some reason, in this episode, he is Harry High Pants to the extreme. Did
Oh,
you?
is he?
Did anyone notice that?
I actually think I noticed more so in the hologram than
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know, just because of the color and the way. Because where they were sitting or where they were looking at the hologram was kind of like above their eye line,
Yeah.
and so it just sort of stood
His
out
belt
more.
was
and-
above the chairs.
It's like, yeah, it just turns like a history teacher and is like, look at me, you know, and you know which history teacher of ours I'm thinking of.
Bloody neck ears.
Yeah.
Oh, did you guys go to school together? Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, we got
Didn't
some
we tell
stories
ya?
we'll have to share with you.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
We've known each other for umpteen years.
No, 20 now. 20 years this year.
Oh, you and Rhys.
No. 30. In our 30s.
30. Both in our 30s.
Good chat.
Yeah.
So at the end, you're talking about a horror film. The bloody replicator crawls up out of the water. Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, to be continued.
Boom.
Thor was correct. We are going to die.
Oh, come on, Teal'c, lighten up. Been in these situations before.
No, sir, we haven't.
We haven't?
Genuinely surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was that about?
Well, she's just... These stakes are high. But, I don't know, at the end of season 1, though, stakes were pretty high.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
were like, okay, we've set the time and we're about to blow up.
They were in prison in
We're
a
done.
Goa'uld ship.
Yeah.
Like Jackson and Teal'c have both died previously.
Previously.
well,
You know
the
what I
end,
mean? You
the end
know-
of season 1, you're in a ship that's about to blow up. The end of season 3, they're in a ship that's about to blow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't we?
Yeah. Have we or not?
Well, and there's something that obviously the Asgard don't have. They don't have their version of gliders. They obviously don't have any little ships that they
Yeah.
can fly in.
Yeah. They've literally been in hell.
Yeah.
And this is worse?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but Jacob was there for that, so
Yeah.
it's fine. It's fine.
Daddy's little girl.
Talking about last week, we were talking about the green screen with behind the gate.
Mm.
Because this gate spins manually, the manual dial that's on board Thor's ship. Do you reckon they would have done that in the like filmed that in the gate room?
I don't know, maybe.
Because they would have had the green screen behind. I just thought, oh, maybe they would have just
It was on
tilted it a bit. And
they would have. Oh, maybe. Who knows? I guess they would have to do that. They would have had to have taken out all the
the stairs and
the stairs and the ramp
Clamps
and the
and-
clamps, and they would have had to have redressed everything. So maybe it was all just
because I know,
CG.
well, we've said before that the off-world gate doesn't spin because it's rubber.
yeah.
So whenever that's what I just realised that just now.
Maybe they did the
Whenever they're doing a manual dial, they have to use the gate room gate.
yeah. Maybe they just do it as a
Production-wise.
close-up insert or something like that.
Mm.
Did you notice Rhys something different with the opening credits at all? I'm not sure. You're watching on a streaming service, whereas we've got the old DVD, so I'm not sure if it's the same.
They
But
have the
from this episode starting forward, it's no more like shots from previous as the opening credits. It's just that slow pan of the Pharaoh's head, like from the
like from
movie.
the movie.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it stays like that for the next couple of seasons. I think until season 6 it stays like that. For
Yeah.
some unknown reason. I don't know why they stopped doing the shots from previous, but yeah, they just decided to...
So is it always the same shots? Or do they do different...
Shots from previous?
Yeah, like always the same scenes. Like, is it the same...
Yeah, you know
opening,
how it's
opening sequence with the same scenes
they always
in it?
show
Or they
John
change
S.
the scenes?
Davies and the
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
The
and there's
bl-
the
the-
shot from In the Line of Duty when there's, you know, the glider shooting them as they're
Yeah,
carrying
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. I think they updated every season or so. I know
Yeah,
from like
okay.
when they go back to it in
like
like
from season 1 to now. That's been the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well,
Yeah.
like, season 1 was different because it had the.
Only for a couple though, I reckon. It's like
Well, no,
it's
because remember they couldn't use the scene of
they
from in the line of duty of the glider firing because that was like the second episode of season 2.
Yeah, well, they had Solitudes when Hammond was in the ice in the Antarctic.
Yeah, but I'm saying they
and the
couldn't-
Tolan episode.
I'm saying they
Yeah.
couldn't,
Where they
they
come out
couldn't
into
use
the
a
ash and
season
stuff.
2 episode for the season 1 opening credits. Is all I'm saying. Like they've updated.
Then it must be
each
like
season.
95% of it must be the same because I feel
Yeah.
like it hasn't changed. And that's why I think when I first came onto Stargate, I must have watched season 4 and 5 or whatever episodes because that Sphinx, or the Pharaoh, whatever, that opening was my Stargate opening.
Yeah.
And so then when I saw this one that we've been used to the last couple of seasons where, it shows Jack O'Neill and him opening his eye and that's like, the wormhole and I'm like, what
Yeah.
the f***
It
is
was-
this?
I
This
think-
is, this
Yeah.
is so weird, man. Like, he's the gateway to the universe. Wank, whatever. Now I'm like, I love that. I actually love that. I'm like, let's do it for getting the gate for a bit of fun. Hey, who's
Yeah.
going to be Jack and who gets to have the wormhole in their eye? Like, I'm like,
can have the
that
wormhole.
looks cool.
I think like
Well,
season,
I've had the wormhole before. I'll have it again.
season 6, 7, and 8 are really good. I think it might be season 6 they do this cool thing where it's like half the shot is like the gate rotating, real close-up shots of the gate rotating, and then it's like a hero shot of each of the characters, and they have their little credit on there and stuff like that,
Yeah.
which I really like. But yeah, there's as far as I know, there's no reason why they changed over to the
like
Pharaoh, unless it was
before the season ends.
unless they just didn't want to do it next season. It was too much. They were just like, we don't want to edit
bothered.
everything together. Couldn't be bothered, so they just did
Yeah.
that and took it from the
Kinda makes
from
sense.
the movie. But they still had to edit it down because it's much shorter than the whole panning shot from the opening of the movie. But
They would have just sped it up, mate.
no, they just literally cut it because you see less of the Pharaoh's head. It's a
okay.
shorter sequence, so they still would have had to edit that. So
Yeah.
who knows? All right, well, since we're getting close to the end and I'm at 2, I'm just going to say it. Nemesis, great Stargate episode. Shit, Star Trek episode. What?
Oh, that's 3.
Oh, you
Yeah.
wasted it.
Oh.
Wasted.
No, it's worth it because it's an episode of Voyager called Nemesis. Shit out.
This far and no further!
All right. Mute him.
I'm done.
He's out.
Cool.
I'm going to go finger my replicator box.
Can't hear.
Can't hear what you're saying, mate.
So,
I mean, how about that Matty guy? Sorry, just the height of him. So a good Stargate episode is still not as good as a shit Star Trek episode.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, we shouldn't have him back
What a tool.
for season 4.
Say that.
Sorry, can't hear.
What?
Can't hear words.
Who's that?
We should probably talk about Star Trek Discovery, though.
Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
us. Go.
It's pretty sweet, actually.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool stuff, and because it's a
You've already done
prequel.
this joke. It's lame.
Sorry, can't hear. It's so much better.
Yeah.
It's so much better. And it's the first main African American lead,
Mm.
which is good.
Nice.
Finally got a
And-
female to lead Star Trek too. Like,
Absolutely.
it's about time.
I know.
Hashtag about time.
Battlestar Galactica too.
Yeah.
Discuss.
Great
That's
show.
good.
No, that is.
I've never
I actually
seen
have a toaster that burns a Cylon onto your bread. It's cool.
Nice.
That's a Big Bang Theory joke.
Can't hear.
Cylon, are they related to the dialects from Doctor
Yeah, I
Who?
think
It's
so.
across universe, yeah?
I think so.
Yeah,
the main
yeah.
guy in Heroes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I knew I'd seen him before.
Sylar.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'm just glad it doesn't work.
What?
so.
Can't hear.
I think we're winding down, are we?
All right, let's wrap this up.
There's no more content.
No one's ever
What?
said.
Can't hear.
All right, that is episode 65. We are at the end of 3 seasons of Stargate SG-1. We will, of course, be back to do season 4, episode 1, but that's going to be 2 weeks, not next Sunday. Next week, we are going to do what we do at the end of every season, a full season wrap. We're going to categorize and order our best and worst of the season, which has been a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed season 2 last year. We started to get a bit more debate in there. I think season 1 we tended to agree a lot more because it was the early days of SG-1. Last year, there's a few swears, thrown around in the room.
Mate, this season, this next week's going to be great.
Yeah, there's a lot more good episodes this season. It'd be hard to pick a top 7, bottom 7.
Yeah. I feel like that's what maybe it's what makes top 7 and then what has to then be forced into the second. That's where there's going to be a couple of... You're fucking kidding, mate.
Yeah,
We've
you're
had
having a laugh.
We've heard that a couple of times in this.
What? That's in your bottom? Are you kidding?
What else is in your bottom?
What else is in your bottom?
What isn't, mate?
Get
Don't
away
try
from
and
his
steal the
microphone,
mics, mate.
I'll try
You had
anything
your
3
chance.
times.
What if I just do this? Well done, Mitch. You did a great job there. Turn my microphone off.
Your movie's faded down.
That's true.
Yeah.
I know how to work buttons. Okay, so we'll see you back next week for our season review of Season 3. Until then, all of our old podcasts, if you have just joined us, check out your favourite podcasting outlet. Search Get Into Gate, a Stargate podcast. You can find us on the socials, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search Get Into Gate, a Stargate podcast. Or if you want to just drop us a line, maybe give us your top 3 episodes of the season. getintogate@gmail.com.
Yeah, let us know. Let us know your top 3 and your bottom 3.
Yeah, for
Don't
sure.
worry about the other ones.
Nah, screw the other ones.
We'll bore you with ours, but
Yes, you will listen. Myself, Mitch_Lewis on Twitter and Instagram. Come talk some gate. Matty
He's not here.
is somewhere. I don't know.
Disappeared.
Probably watching Star Trek Discovery somewhere, but you
Probably.
can find him
he
somewhere.
loves it.
Oh,
Boy,
loves
he
it.
loves it.
At I Hate Stargate.
I'll tell you what, send him your full list of Stargate Season 3, the full order. We
Yeah.
don't have time, us 3, but send it to Matty.
He's got so much time. He tells us so often.
Brendan, where can we
Seen all
find
the
you?
shows.
You can find me at the Brendan Gibson on Instagram and the Bren Gibson on Twitter. Hook us up.
And
Hook
Rhys
this up with yourself. I'm at the Flying Gibson on all the ones.
on all of the ones. all of
Especially Twitter.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to say Grinder, but that.
Yeah. Flog that dead horse.
Yeah. Because you love dick.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the main
Love
reason.
flogging dead horses.
On your
that
Cora.
Lewis!
GetIntoGeek.com.
So at the end, you're talking about a horror film. The bloody replicator crawls up out of the water. Dun, 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 to be continued.
Boom.
There's a
Oh,
replicator
you're wrapping
on
this
Earth.
up.
Sorry, have you got something else to talk about?
Yeah, I do.
You had like a 5-minute silence, so I'm trying to fill.
You don't need to film, mate. We can edit.
Jesus Christ.
We obviously had nothing to talk about.
I do, but you started talking.
After
you-
5 minutes,
Open it up.
I mean, you could have let him finish and then started instead of being about it, but all right. No.
Well, I wanted to clarify if you're going on to something good or you're trying to wrap it up.
what am I wrapping up, mate? I'm just talking
To be
about the
continued.
fucking
All right, see you
episode.
next week on Get Into Gate.
So you're saying
Yeah.
we can edit the silence, but we can't edit that back into the episode? Come on, mate.
Come on,
All right,
what do
come
you
on,
think?
guys.
Pull your head out of your ass.
We're on a time limit here, guys. We're going to go.
Oh, yeah,
soon.
Trying to get things rolling.
No, I got nothing. There you go.
Brilliant. Fucking waiting for it.